In the late 20th century, one Japanese company was so technologically untouchable that its inventions lived inside almost every computer, television, hospital, and power grid on Earth. This was Toshiba, the industrial titan that built Japan's first light bulb, created the world's first mass-market laptop, and invented NAND flash memory, the technology that makes every modern smartphone and solid-state drive possible. For over a century, Toshiba was the crown jewel of Japan's post-war economic miracle and a global symbol of precision engineering. Yet, in December of 2023, after 74 years on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, this 140-year-old empire was quietly delisted in total disgrace. Toshiba didn't collapse because an outside competitor stole their market overnight. They destroyed themselves from the inside out through a toxic mix of corporate arrogance, a multi-billion-dollar accounting fraud, disastrous acquisitions, and a culture of silence so deep that executives faked financial records rather than admit they were losing money. This is the dramatic story of how one of the greatest technology giants in human history went from ruling the modern world to a humiliated company in complete shambles. To understand how high Toshiba once stood, we have to look back at its origins. The company's roots trace back to 1875, when a visionary inventor named Hisashige Tanaka, known as the Edison of the East, opened a telegraph equipment factory in Tokyo. Decades later, his business merged with Tokyo Electric Company, founded by Ichisuke Fujioka, the pioneer who introduced Japan to electric lighting. Together, they formed Tokyo Shibara Electric, which the world eventually came to know as Toshiba. Throughout the 20th century, Toshiba was an unstoppable innovation machine. As Japan rebuilt itself into an industrial powerhouse following World War II, Toshiba was at the forefront of every technological wave. They manufactured Japan's first radar systems, electric washing machines, transistors, and the high-tech components powering the legendary bullet trains. By the 1980s, Toshiba had evolved into a diversified global colossus. In 1985, Toshiba launched the T1100, widely recognized as the world's first mass-market, commercially successful laptop computer. It packed processing power, a rechargeable battery, and an LCD screen into a sleek clamshell case, establishing Toshiba as the dominant laptop brand across the globe for 2 decades. Around that exact same time, a brilliant Toshiba engineer named Fujio Masuoka invented NAND flash memory. It was one of the most transformative breakthroughs in computing history, a compact storage chip that retained data even without power. Today, virtually all digital storage, from smartphones to cloud data centers, relies on flash memory technology pioneered inside Toshiba's laboratories. Yet, as the 1990s gave way to the 2000s, the global technology landscape shifted violently. Fast-moving manufacturers from South Korea, Taiwan, and China entered the electronics market. Companies like Samsung and TSMC built ultra-efficient fabrication plants and slashed production costs. Toshiba's consumer electronics division began bleeding cash. Their televisions, laptops, and appliances were undercut on price and outperformed by nimbler competitors. Inside Toshiba's executive boardrooms, panic was setting in. The leadership realized that relying on consumer gadgets was a recipe for slow death. They needed a massive, high-margin industrial business that foreign competitors could not duplicate. In 2006, CEO Atsutoshi Nishida decided to place the ultimate corporate bet on nuclear energy. Believing the world was entering a historic nuclear renaissance, Toshiba entered a fierce bidding war to acquire Westinghouse Electric Company, the American nuclear pioneer. Desperate to win, Toshiba overpaid drastically, spending an astronomical $5.4 billion and saddling its balance sheet with massive debt. At first, executives celebrated. Then, on March 11, 2011, disaster struck. A magnitude 9 earthquake and tsunami slammed into the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, causing catastrophic core meltdowns. Over several decades prior, Toshiba had built several of those compromised reactors. Overnight, the global nuclear renaissance died. Countries froze atomic energy programs, and regulatory standards skyrocketed. In the United States, Westinghouse's construction of the Vogtle and VC Summer nuclear plants was paralyzed by redesigns, delays, and billions of dollars in cost overruns. Toshiba's multi-billion-dollar bet turned into a bottomless financial black hole. Under normal corporate governance, a company would write down the losses and restructure. But inside Toshiba, admitting failure was culturally forbidden. The rivalry between successive CEOs, Atsutoshi Nishida, Norio Sasaki, and Hisao Tanaka, was notoriously bitter. None of them wanted to be the leader who admitted defeat. To hide the truth, leadership instituted a toxic practice known as the challenge, or charenji. Top executives summoned division managers and demanded they hit impossible profit targets. The pressure was ruthless, accompanied by public humiliation and career threats. Executives made it clear they did not care how the numbers were met. They simply refused to see losses on paper. To survive, managers and accountants systematically faked the books. For nearly 7 years, from 2008 to 2014, Toshiba operated a company-wide accounting fraud. They postponed project losses, booked fictitious revenue on unfinished contracts, and inflated asset values across multiple divisions. The house of cards collapsed in 2015 when an internal whistleblower alerted regulators. An independent investigation revealed that Toshiba had inflated operating profits by over $1.2 billion. The scandal rocked Japan. In July 2015, CEO Hisao Tanaka and 2 former CEOs walked onto a stage, bowed in deep 90-degree angles of public shame, and resigned. Investors were appalled, stock prices plunged, and credit ratings dropped to junk status. Yet their biggest disaster was still unfolding in America. Construction at Westinghouse's nuclear plants was drowning in liabilities. In late 2016, Toshiba announced a staggering $6.3 billion write-down. In March 2017, Westinghouse filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy with over $9 billion in debt. The bankruptcy plunged Toshiba into negative net worth. Under Tokyo Stock Exchange rules, if a company remains in negative equity for 2 consecutive years, it is automatically delisted. Toshiba had less than 12 months to raise billions in emergency cash. To survive, the company had to sell off its prized divisions at fire sale prices. They sold their television unit to Hisense, their appliance division to Midea, and their medical business to Canon. Most painfully, Toshiba was forced to sell its crown jewel, the NAND flash memory division. In 2018, they sold the chip unit to a Bain Capital-led consortium for $18 billion. Toshiba survived bankruptcy, but it had amputated its most profitable business to do so. To plug the final financial gap, Toshiba issued $5.4 billion in new stock to foreign activist hedge funds like Efficimo and Elliott Management. These investors immediately demanded aggressive restructuring, board seats, and dividend payouts. Toshiba's old guard management fought back, viewing foreign funds as hostile raiders. The infighting turned scandalous in 2020 when management secretly colluded with Japanese government officials to suppress foreign shareholder votes. An independent report exposed the covert collusion in 2021, destroying any remaining investor trust. Over the next 2 years, paralyzed by boardroom civil war and cycling through multiple CAEOs, Toshiba proposed bizarre breakup plans that shareholders repeatedly rejected. Finally, in late 2023, the board accepted a $14 billion buyout from Japan Industrial Partners to take the company private. On December 20th, 2023, Toshiba was officially delisted from the Tokyo Stock Exchange, ending 74 years of public history with a quiet, humiliated exit. The collapse of Toshiba is a sobering warning for modern business. No legacy is strong enough to survive when executives prioritize saving face over facing reality. When corporate culture rewards silence and financial trickery replaces real innovation, even the most legendary empire will crumble. If Toshiba had never made that reckless nuclear acquisition in 2006, would they still be leading global tech today? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another breakdown of the biggest fortunes and downfalls in business history.